Delaware Gazette.
Hey Jim, Taiwan Malone is a guy who really flashed out there today. I'm just curious, where does Taiwan fit in your depth defensive line right now? It's a guy who probably doesn't get talked about as much, but where does he fit in that right now? What have you seen from him this spring?
He's developed for sure. Wasn't quite ready last year for a lot of reps, but he's shown marked improvement. So, long season, we play a lot of guys up front. We really need him to come along, and he showed flashes of that.
Over to the left, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
With guys like Lathan and Malik, and I guess Lorenzo also not being able to play, and that's been, I guess, the case through most of spring. Just what did that open up for you as far as developing more depth at safety, and how have you seen guys like Bonsu and McLean assert themselves this spring?
Yeah, every situation like that gives somebody an opportunity. Our depth was really down at safety this spring. So, because you had Lathan, you had Jihad, you had Malik, and then Lorenzo. So, it opened up opportunities, and Bonsu is a guy who really got a lot of reps, and you saw him improve. And then McLean, I think, is a great plus. I mean, he is a guy that has football intelligence. He's picked it up. He's kind of those incoming freshmen who still should be in high school. He's a guy I think you're going to point to, and you can see right now he's going to be a player.
Over to the right, Austin Ward, the podcast.
What is a healthy Mitchell Melton? How does he fit in for your defense? What does he bring to it?
Yeah, Mitch is that combination player. In our four down, he's a guy that can do a lot of things, drop, fold in there, and make plays. You see some of that all the time. Really athletic. We're kind of loaded at that end position, so he's going to play there. But like I said last year, we haven't needed it, but he's a guy you would point to along with C.J. Hicks. For the long season. People get injured, you get a little light inside. It's always hard on the defensive tackles. But if you're going to play with three ends, that Mitch is a guy who definitely can do all that. He has that.
Over to the left, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Jim, you've talked about this before, but I think in past years where you're going up against a really talented receiver group offense, to encourage your players it's not okay if they give up to the play, and to go nearly almost the first half today where the offense didn't get in the end zone until late in the second half. And you guys have guys down in the secondary. Just what did you think of that sort of trend and how it's evolved and the way you guys almost shut them out the first half?
Yeah, I think it's become an expectation now. Our DBs, our BIA, best in America. We led the country in pass defense. Right, I think it was 96 when I got here, and it was number 1 last year. So they've taken that spirit. So it's a competitive spirit. It's an expectation now. It doesn't matter who we're going against. They view it as a standard. So that was good to see in the first half.
Over to the right, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Jim, we've talked about safety, changing the way that you play defense and the Leo and the linebackers, but how much does having the depth that you guys have at defensive tackle change the way that you can do things defensively?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to play to your strengths, and that's my job is to what do we have and what do we do best. And when you have defensive tackles, and I've said it before, it helped our defense so much last year. When you have defensive tackles that actually make tackles, which is what we have right now, it changes the way you call a game. It certainly helps you be in better shape on explosive plays on the back end. You don't have to do a whole lot to help those guys out because they're making tackles. So you got to go with that. You got to let those guys play, and they're good. So you can't get too far away from the scheme of having those defensive tackles make plays because they're doing it and it works.
Over to the left, Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Jim Ryan talked about the quarterback run being more of a thing with the offense this year. During the season, how much of, when you're facing a team like that, how much does that impact your day-to-day throughout the week preparing for that?
Yeah, it's a ton. You know, I think it changes everything you do on defense. You see it everywhere from the NFL on down. If you have a quarterback who can make plays with his feet, your scheme better be designed that, you know, to take that away and to account for it. So it changes the way you look at everything when you're game planning.
Thank you, Donovan. Over here to the right, Tim May, the Tim May podcast.
Yeah, Jim, you might have been in when I asked Ryan about just, for example, Calvin Simpson Hunt, but the corners seem to be playing almost with a chip on their shoulder to a certain extent. I mean, Davis and Igbinosun took today personally, it looked like, you know what I mean, because some of the hype going into the game. But what do you see from that group in particular that buoys you going into this offseason?
Yeah, when you have corners that you can count on, again, it's just like having defensive tackles in the run game. When you have corners you can count on that are going to compete all the time, no matter what the situation is, and we've developed that. Again, it changes the way you call the entire game. I mean, you're able to leave those guys on an island. You're able to switch up coverages, and they know what they're doing, and they take great pride in it. So having those guys out there in the development, it's a big deal. It really is.
And has Hunt jumped into the picture a little bit more? I mean, obviously came in late last year. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he did come in late, and you know, he's one of those guys that just competes every day, doesn't say much. You know, he's trying to live up to the standard of the other guys, and you see him coming along. You know, you see him step by step coming along, and you know, put him in a competitive atmosphere, see him step up. That's a great sign.
And final question for Coach Knowles, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
You mentioned C.J. Hicks a few minutes ago. Have you seen him take the strides you need to see this spring to trust him as a guy who could be a potential starter on this defense?
Yes, I mean, I think C.J. has shown that he has talent, and I think it's my job to put him in the best situations for him because he can be a force. You know, he's much better when he's blitzing or he's directed because he's able to use his athletic ability. But he has certainly shown that he's going to be able to help this defense.
Coach, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Jim.